This is hardball. Now, you telling me that you just discovered that and you don't have the stomach for it? This is it, Henry. This is the price you pay to lead. You don't think that Abraham Lincoln was a whore before he was a president?
We return to the 1990s in primary colors because they reflect an important historical theme about Bill Clinton's presidential campaign, his time in office, and ourselves. To avoid burying the lead, the prevailing theme of that time, and of our time, is compromise. Compromise is intimately tethered to the balance between growth and entropy, expansion and contraction, life and death. This is not some YouTuber being dramatic. This is reality. Liars, and honest liars, whether they call themselves Democrat or Republican, gay or straight, Christian or atheist, want us to compromise, get us to compromise, and the result is always decay. Don't mistake this as an attack on any of those aforementioned groups or categories. This is an acknowledgement that compromise and corruption are always, at root, the actual problems.
You don't think that Abraham Lincoln was a whore before he was a president? He had to tell his little stories and smile his shit-eating backcountry grin. And he did it just so that he would one day have the opportunity to stand in front of the nation and appeal to the better angels of our nature. And that's where the bullshit stops.
Or that's what we'd like to believe. And don't you wish it was true? It sure sounds good, but it doesn't ever happen. And we'll get to that in a bit. In the real world, Bill Clinton's presidency moved the Democrats closer to the Republicans in fundraising dollars. And the party enjoyed a resurgence in their ability to galvanize its voting base. But for the more ideologically pure Democrat voter, Clinton's social liberalism could not conceal some of his more fiscally right-wing tells. A massive, big business-friendly Continental Trade Agreement signing, NAFTA, reforms to the welfare payout system, as well as his fair share of politically convenient, saber-rattling rhetoric towards the Middle East. Media fairy tales aside, economically speaking, the two exclusively viable American political parties came to resemble each other much more closely toward the turn of the century, and arguably, they were never that far apart to begin with. But during this time, it became ever more apparent that Blue Team and Red Team were, for all their sound and fury, on the same team. Team Compromise, led by its fearless captain, Honest Liar.
That's what it's all about, so we have the opportunity to make the most of it, to do it the right way. You know as well as I do, there are plenty of people playing this game that don't think that way. They're willing to sell their souls, crawl through sewers, lie to people, divide them, play on their worst fears for nothing, just for the prize.
Cool story, bro. That kind of speech is very alluring to idealistic dreamers, and it worked quite well for this honest liar. But as with any Faustian bargain or monkey paw, there's always a back end that winds up hitting you in the back end. Leaders who compromise morality in pursuit of power, and their supporters who themselves compromise by overlooking such compromises, receive poetic justice when their efforts produce their inevitably compromised corrosive byproducts. It never fails to fail. The inability to remember that the lesser of two evils is evil shows a lack of appreciation for the danger of moral compromise, as well as the ability of humans to rationalize anything for power. Because every action has a reaction, process always matters. How you play the game always matters. As we compromise, to the degree that we do, the process is often too subtle to notice, but in its slowness is where the danger lies. Our failure to smell the burning of brush allows us to walk away from the very fires we start. Through the unyielding, ever-present, permitting, tolerating, and compromising, we lengthen a self-sustaining, unbroken chain of evil, each link compelling us to compromise toward the next. Until we insist on doing better, not from others, but from ourselves, things will necessarily get worse.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Well, maybe you need to do better, Captain Condom. We must consider and include the double-edged nature of compromise, or specifically the role of compromise in any process. This relates to the earlier contention that process matters, and in relation to politics, process matters in a unique way. Compromising or compromise candidates comfortable with cover-ups and shady deals as necessary shortcuts to power, would seem unlikely to break the habit. Even when the compromises made seem insignificant, the fact that a candidate has already knuckled under relatively benign offers further underscores that they're ill-equipped to resist the more tempting and sinister demands that await them once seated in power.
See, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
And so, a candidate, a liar, or an honest liar, filled with idealism, might run for office starting from point A to destination point B. Along the way to point B, they lay down their moral burden, little by little, in pursuit of good, of course. But the compromises continue until they arrive at their destination and no core value remains. And this is what happens to our politicians, our liars. And it's why there is no political solution to our troubled evolution. Thank you, Gordon Sumner.
In the end, Henry, who can do this better than me? Think about it. Don't shake your head, Henry. We worked so hard together to get here. And it's there for us now, right there. We can do incredible things.
To the more extreme political and moral compromisers among us, what good does it do you to win at any cost at the expense of your soul? It's certainly worth considering the cost, personally and societally, of indulging the whims of liars, and the cost of participating so enthusiastically in a world that compels us to lie or believe lies, either to win or to fit in.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say,
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Yeah, I don't think so. Thanks for listening.